Hi, it's Stephen Biggins here, Managing Director of Core Lithium. I'm standing on the beautiful Darwin waterfront. We're just participating in the Mining the Territory mining conference here in Darwin. Right behind us at the conference centre, and actually on the horizon, in the far horizon, about 25 kilometres that way, is Australia's next lithium mine, the Finniss Lithium Project.
Good to have you back on the show, Steve. We've tried to do this a few times, but you've been so busy getting on and doing things. We've missed each other a couple of times, so I appreciate you making time today, because you're about to scoot off to a gala. Looks like a high-vis gala dinner tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, well, that's right. I've got the gear on because it was only an hour ago I was on site. It only takes an hour to drive from site to Darwin, the capital city here. And I was watching our people and our teams start construction of the Finniss Lithium Project. We've got the big gear on site. Things are moving. We're setting up road access. We're setting up pipelines. We're setting up our communications and foundations for our office buildings there.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like things are moving. Certainly in terms of the share price, up from 28 cents to nearly 60 cents as at the time of recording here, 900 million market cap company. So people are paying attention to this. So some of the things that happened since we spoke at the end of July, FIDs happened. Obviously, you sorted things out with Ganfeng, it looks like. So what are the significance of those? And were there any issues, any delays on that, or was it as expected?
Yeah, no, really, Matt, it's gone to plan. As we said in the last meeting, we were looking to achieve FID, which we've done. We put our key mining and EPC contracts in place, which we've done. And we've ticked off the last piece of our financing with a $34 million, extra $34 million in the cash from Ganfeng and an offtake with the largest lithium producer in the world. Right, So we are now building that project. So
there's a couple of things here. One, obviously, you've talked about getting into production by the end of 2022. It's obviously a simple build process with the EPC contract you got in place. You're going to hit that deadline. No concerns over that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got and now we're on a sort of a finite schedule. We're funded. We've got our people in place. Our contracts in place. So we're very confident about meeting that timeline of first production. So, we'll be Australia's next new lithium producer, producing high quality lithium concentrates out of Darwin City and Darwin Port, which is right behind me.
Tell me, just remind me again the significance of it, because you've actually crossed the I's and dotted the T's, as it were, with the Ganfeng agreement in place, and it's unconditional, and it's potentially 80% of your output there. What's the significance of getting that done in the context of what it means for your business, or stabilizing your business in the first few years, and then more importantly, what happens at the end of 4 years for you guys?
Yeah. Well, what it does do is, alongside Ganfeng, we have our offtake with Yahua, who link us to Tesla's supply chain. So we've got some of the best lithium customers in the world that sort of we can rely on to sell our product to, and they're linked to some of the best participants in the lithium battery supply chain as well. From our side, it really we're now in a position, almost a unique position on the ASX, as being the only new Australian lithium producer looking to start production by the end of 2022. That reflects the persistence and the way that we've delivered the project, so it was ready to build at the right time, and with lithium prices heading through over $2,000 US a ton, Core is exactly in the right place at the right time.
Well, it feels like that, and I kind of look back to the early conversations that we had, and it wasn't necessarily the right time because it was a difficult market, wasn't it? Yeah. There've been a few kind of step ups, for lithium along the way since then. But it must have felt almost impossible. I mean, describe the journey at the beginning for you, because there weren't many believers, were there?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I think we had a level of belief in our project and persistence, so that when we were going through sort of the bottom of the cycle, we kept at it. We kept at it, and we because we believed the project would be needed and it is, and the markets come back to us. Strategic markets have come back, commodity price, finance markets, because we're needed globally to increase the level of supply, lithium batteries, lithium supply to meet the needs from the phenomenal EV growth that the world's experiencing.
It's one of those things. So success has many masters, but are you finding yourself being offered money that you now don't need by banking groups? Because that's a sort of standard thing that happens. And if you are you considering at all like expanding the project?
Yeah, well, financing is always there when you don't need it. But we're well financed now. We can access more finance if we need to expand the project. There are a whole bunch of parties, good quality parties that unfortunately didn't get access to our offtake, but are still keen to communicate with us and would like to see us expand production. So we will be continuing to invest tens of millions of dollars in exploration and resource drilling to expand the project. And really, we have plans for stage 2 of the project to significantly expand production towards 2024.
Well, just tell us a little bit about that, because when companies have reached a certain size, you're 900 million market cap now, the growth story becomes more difficult to tell, right? So you've got some options. You expand your own asset, single jurisdiction, or you start thinking bigger and you start looking elsewhere. I mean, how are you reining things in and focused on getting into production, or are you starting the process now for expanding your own operations, or are you looking further afield?
Yeah, well, I think there's a range of things we're looking at, Matt, really. I mean, first one is delivery of the project we're building right now. So making sure that we sort of deliver on budget, on time, and safely. Secondly is about positioning ourselves to expand production of lithium concentrate in the future. The third one is also we're undertaking feasibility studies on downstream lithium processing in the future. So the potential to produce lithium hydroxide. I'm not sure if you can see behind me as well. There's a bunch of sort of tanks and machinery there. That's $35 billion worth of industrial chemical processing infrastructure, right, that we can leverage as well. So that's an ideal position for us to be considering that.
Who owns that? What was the partnership?
So that's Inpex. That's Inpex. So that's a huge investment by Japan in LNG sort of processing facilities here in the Northern Territory. Okay,
and so what potential? When you say leverage it, I mean how can you leverage someone else's assets? How does that work?
Well, there's a whole bunch of industrial infrastructure there. So that's an industrial precinct. The gas, power, 3 power stations there. So when we're looking at downstream chemical processing in the future, there's a whole bunch of infrastructure that we can utilise and plug into.
Okay, well, congrats on the getting into construction bit. We'll definitely follow you through the rest of 2022 and how you're getting along delivering those. I'm excited actually to stay in touch with you and talk about some of these potential expanding existing facilities, looking at phase 2 and maybe, as you say, going a little bit downstream. That could be really, really interesting, because I think all companies like you need to have a growth story component to what you're talking about. I mean, towards that end, are you seeing more institutional starting to come on the share register now, or is that something that you're going to have to work on?
Yeah, no, we're seeing a lot of movement. Huge volumes in the stock. Sort of real retail and stow, and I think we're sort of probably close to a point where we're starting to sort of trigger some ETFs as well.
Okay, interesting times. Well, okay, well, I better let you crack on. You have got a gala dinner to go to. You better scrub up, and why don't you maybe give us a shout next time when you find
a matching tie.
Yes. Be a bow tie. Give us a shout when you're perhaps,
tie,
if you've got one. Give us a shout when you're up in on site, and maybe show us around on some of this construction. So I think people will be keen to see how quickly it all comes together and what it looks like.
Yeah, terrific. All right, thanks, Matt.